The sun beats down on the Giza Plateau. The sand stretches out for miles, a vast golden sea. And rising from that sea are three of the most iconic structures ever created by human hands: the Great Pyramids. They've stood here for thousands of years, silent witnesses to the rise and fall of empires, the shifting of sands, and the endless march of time. When you stand in their shadow, you can't help but feel small. You're looking at a mystery carved in stone, a puzzle that has captivated explorers, historians, and dreamers for centuries. How did they do it? How did an ancient civilization, without the help of modern machinery, build these mountain-sized monuments to perfection? It's a question that echoes through the ages, and today, we're going on an expedition to find some answers. This isn't just a story about ancient history. This is one of the greatest detective stories of all time. The clues are scattered across the desert, hidden in ancient texts and buried deep beneath the sand. Think about it. We're talking about millions of stone blocks, some weighing more than an elephant, stacked hundreds of feet into the air with incredible precision. The Great Pyramid of Giza alone is aligned almost perfectly with the cardinal points of the compass. Coincidence? Or a sign of incredible skill and knowledge? Every time I come here, I feel the same sense of wonder. The desert holds its secrets close. For every question we answer about the pyramids, two more seem to pop up. So grab your gear. We're about to dive deep into this mystery. We will follow the path of the ancient builders, from the stone quarries to the very top of these man-made mountains. We'll look at the tools they used, the techniques they perfected, and the incredible organization required to pull off such a monumental project. The truth about how the pyramids were built is out there, waiting to be discovered. Let's go find it. Before we can get into the how, we have to understand the why. Why would anyone go to all this trouble? The answer is as grand as the pyramids themselves. For the ancient Egyptians, these weren't just tombs, they were resurrection machines. They were gateways to the afterlife, stairways that would carry the soul of the pharaoh up to the heavens to join the gods. The pharaoh was considered a divine being, a link between the mortal world and the world of the gods. When a pharaoh died, it was crucial that his spirit, or Ka, could successfully make the journey to the eternal paradise they called the Field of Reeds. The pyramid was the launch pad for that journey. The shape itself is incredibly symbolic. The pyramid's sloping sides are thought to represent the solidified rays of the sun god Ra. The idea was that the pharaoh's soul would literally climb these sunbeams to the sky. Inside the pyramid, deep within a labyrinth of passages and chambers, the pharaoh's mummy was laid to rest. He was buried with everything he would need in the afterlife: treasures, furniture, food, boats to sail the cosmic waters. The walls of the burial chambers were often covered in spells and inscriptions from the Book of the Dead, a supernatural guidebook to help the king navigate the perils of the underworld and achieve immortality. This belief in the afterlife drove everything. The construction of a pyramid wasn't a project that started after the pharaoh died. It often began the moment he took the throne. A successful journey to the afterlife ensured not only the pharaoh's own immortality, but also the continued stability and prosperity of the entire kingdom of Egypt. The pyramid was a focal point for the nation's resources, its manpower, and its spiritual devotion. So when you look at a pyramid, don't just see a pile of stones. See a physical manifestation of a powerful belief system. See a culture so convinced of life after death that they were willing to move mountains to prepare for it. Understanding this powerful motivation is the first step in solving the mystery of their construction. Every great building starts with a single stone. For the pyramids, it started with millions of them. The journey of a pyramid block begins far from Giza, in quarries located up and down the Nile. Most of the core blocks were quarried right there on the Giza Plateau. The beautiful smooth casing stones came from Tura limestone quarries across the river. Massive granite beams came from Aswan, over 500 miles away. This wasn't a simple matter of picking up rocks. They didn't have dynamite or diamond-tipped saws. They had ingenuity and muscle. To cut limestone and sandstone, they used copper chisels and saws, which had to be constantly resharpened. For harder granite, they pounded with dolerite hammerstones. To free massive blocks, they would cut a series of slots. Then they'd jam wooden wedges into those slots. Then they'd soak the wedges with water. As the wood absorbed water and expanded, the force cracked the stone along a straight line. Think about the coordination this required. Teams of workers, all hammering in unison, their rhythmic pounding echoing through the quarry. They weren't just hacking away, they followed precise lines marked out by master stonemasons. They had to cut blocks to specific dimensions, ensuring they would fit perfectly into the grand puzzle of the pyramid. A mistake here could mean a delay of weeks or even months. It was a slow, grueling process that required immense patience and strength. Archaeologists have found these ancient quarries, complete with half-finished blocks abandoned for one reason or another, giving us a frozen-in-time snapshot of their methods. Once a block was freed from the bedrock, the work was only just beginning. It then had to be shaped and prepared for its long journey. This was a factory of stone, an industrial operation on a scale that's hard to comprehend. The story of the pyramids is written not just in the final structure, but in the scars left on the landscape at these incredible quarries. Okay, so you've cut a 50-ton granite block out of a quarry in Aswan. Now for the easy part, right? Wrong. Now you have to move it 500 miles, without wheels, without engines. How on earth did they do it? The answer lies with Egypt's lifeblood, the Nile River. The ancient Egyptians were master sailors and engineers of logistics. They built massive wooden barges specifically designed to carry immense weight. They would drag the giant blocks from the quarry to the river's edge, likely using wooden sleds. Then maneuver them onto these barges during the annual Nile flood, when the water level was at its highest. The annual inundation was key. Every year, the Nile would overflow its banks, creating a vast network of temporary waterways. This allowed them to bring the barges much closer to the construction site than would normally be possible. Recent archaeological discoveries, including the diary of an official named Merer, describe his team's work transporting limestone from Tura to Giza. He talks about a system of man-made canals and an inland harbor built right at the foot of the Giza plateau. They essentially brought the river right to the pyramid's doorstep. But what about moving the blocks across the desert sand from the harbor to the base of the pyramid? A famous painting from an ancient tomb at Deir el-Bersha shows a colossal statue being moved by workers pulling a sled. And if you look closely at the image, you'll see one man standing at the front of the sled, pouring water onto the sand in its path. For years, people thought this was just a ceremonial act. But physicists tested this idea and discovered that wetting the sand in front of a sled reduces the friction by as much as half. It makes the sand firm and allows the heavy sled to glide over it with far less effort. This combination of river transport and sand-slicking sleds formed their ancient highway system. It was a symphony of logistics. Teams at the quarry, teams on the boats, teams on the ground at Giza, all working in concert. It's a powerful reminder that sometimes the simplest solutions, like a bit of water on the sand, can be the most effective. The stones have arrived at the construction site. They're sitting at the base of what will become a mountain of rock. Now comes the biggest challenge of all. How do you get them up there? We're talking about lifting multi-ton blocks hundreds of feet into the air. This is the part of the mystery that has fueled the most debate, and honestly, the wildest theories. The most widely accepted idea among Egyptologists is that they used ramps. But the question is, what kind of ramp? A single, long, straight ramp would have been impossibly huge, eventually becoming a bigger construction project than the pyramid itself. So, experts have proposed several clever variations: straight ramp, zigzag ramp, spiral ramp. One popular theory is a spiral ramp that corkscrewed around the outside of the pyramid as it grew taller. This would allow them to keep the ramp's slope manageable without needing it to stretch for miles. Another idea is an internal ramp system, a series of tunnels built within the body of the pyramid itself. A recent high-tech scan of the Great Pyramid using cosmic ray particles revealed a large, mysterious void above the Grand Gallery. Some believe this could be evidence of just such an internal ramp, left sealed inside when the pyramid was completed. Regardless of the ramp's shape, the process of getting the stones up, it was pure brute force teamwork. Teams of workers would haul the massive blocks, which were placed on wooden sleds, up the slope. They would use ropes made of papyrus or palm fibers, and they would work together, chanting and pulling in unison to a rhythm set by a foreman. It would have been incredibly dangerous and exhausting work. We can imagine teams of 20 to 30 men straining to move a single standard block. It was a slow, steady climb, one block at a time, layer by layer. As they got higher, the task became even more difficult and more precise. The outer casing stones had to be fitted with watchmaker-like accuracy. The pyramid wasn't just a pile of rocks, it was a finely tuned structure. Modern surveyors are still baffled by how they maintain such perfect angles and level courses all the way to the top. The ramp theory, in one form or another, remains the most plausible explanation, showcasing a remarkable ability to solve a monumental engineering problem with simple mechanics and an extraordinary amount of organized labor. For centuries, the popular image of pyramid building was one of slaves whipped into submission, but modern archaeology has overturned this myth. The builders were not slaves. They were skilled, well-fed Egyptian workers. How do we know this? We found their town. Just south of the pyramids, archaeologists excavated a lost city, a sprawling workers' complex, bakeries, breweries, barracks that could house thousands, a planned community for pyramid construction. The city's finds paint the workers' daily life. Animal bones from the rubbish heaps were analyzed. They ate a lot of prime beef, a luxury. They were also given huge quantities of bread and beer. That diet matches a state-sponsored workforce, not slaves. Nearby tombs back this up. Workers were buried with honor near the pyramids they built. Some tomb inscriptions list titles: Inspector of the Builders, Director of the Draftsmen. You don't bury slaves with honor. The workforce had a permanent core of skilled craftsmen, skilled engineers, supplemented by a rotating crew of seasonal laborers. Those temporary workers were likely farmers. They came to work during the Nile's annual flood season, when their fields were underwater and couldn't be worked. For them, it was national service, a way to pay taxes to the pharaoh, and a chance to join something sacred and monumental. The workforce's organization was incredible. They were divided into crews and gangs with names like the Drunkards of Menkaure, the Friends of Khufu. Those names suggest camaraderie and friendly competition. Inscriptions show they were highly organized, with foremen, scribes, and administrators tracking progress, tools, and rations. Building the pyramids was nation building. It brought people together from all over Egypt, creating not just a monument of stone, but a stronger, more unified kingdom. It fostered national pride and unity, a collective effort to serve their king and their gods. Now, let's step off the beaten path for a moment and venture into the fringe. When you're faced with a mystery as colossal as the pyramids, it's bound to attract some out-of-the-box thinking. And some of these theories are way out of the box. The most famous alternative theory is the ancient astronaut theory. This idea suggests that humans couldn't possibly have built the pyramids on their own. Instead, proponents believe that extraterrestrial visitors came to Earth thousands of years ago and provided the technology or even the direct assistance to construct these massive structures. The arguments for this often point to the pyramid's incredible mathematical precision. The Great Pyramid, for example, is said to incorporate mathematical constants like pi and the golden ratio. Its coordinates are also claimed to be on the longitude line that passes over the most land on Earth. Believers in this theory ask, how could an ancient civilization, without computers or satellites, possess such advanced knowledge? They see the pyramids not as tombs, but as power plants, astronomical observatories, or beacons for extraterrestrial ships. While there's no hard archaeological evidence to support this, the idea continues to capture the public imagination because it speaks to the sheer wonder of the structures. Another fascinating, though less extraterrestrial theory, involves a lost form of technology. Some researchers have proposed that the Egyptians didn't lift the blocks at all, but cast them in place. This theory, championed by Professor Joseph Davidovits, suggests that the blocks are not carved natural stone, but an early form of concrete. He argues that the workers would have pulverized limestone, mixed it with water and a special binding agent, and then poured the slurry into wooden molds right on the pyramid. This would explain the tight fit between the blocks and eliminate the problem of lifting them. While intriguing, most geologists who have studied the pyramid blocks maintain that they are, in fact, carved natural limestone, pointing to the fossils and sedimentary layers visible within them. However, these alternative theories are an important part of the pyramid story. They force us to question our assumptions and look at the evidence from new angles. Whether you believe in ancient aliens or lost concrete formulas, these ideas highlight just how challenging it is for the modern mind to accept the incredible achievements of our ancestors using only simple tools and brilliant organization. So, after all this, have we solved the mystery? Yes and no. We have a very good idea of how the pyramids were built. The quarries, the sleds, the ramps, the incredible well-organized workforce, their tools, their city, and even their diaries. We've replaced the myth of slaves with the reality of proud Egyptian builders, but a deep sense of mystery remains. There are still missing pieces to this ancient puzzle. We still don't know the exact design of the ramps, and new discoveries like the hidden void inside the Great Pyramid. The pyramids fascinate us because they represent the peak of human ambition and ingenuity. They stand as a testament to what people can achieve when united by a powerful idea. In a world of disposable everything, the pyramids were built to last for eternity. They challenge our modern arrogance. With simple tools, brilliant problem-solving, and unimaginable determination, they force us to respect the past and the minds of the people who inhabited it. Every time a new discovery is made at Giza, the story gets richer and more complex. We learn more, but the ultimate wonder never fades. Standing there at the foot of the last surviving wonder of the ancient world, you can almost hear the workers' chants, the scrape of the sleds on the sand, and the chipping of chisels on stone. The pyramids are more than just a tourist attraction. They're a time machine. They transport us back to a different world and challenge our place in human history. They are a question written in stone on the desert landscape. They ask us to be curious. They ask us to explore. They ask us to never stop searching for answers. The quest to understand them continues today with every new excavation and every new scan. The full truth may still be buried under the sand, waiting for the next generation of explorers to uncover it. And that, for an explorer like me, is the most exciting part of all. The adventure is far from over.